Shemai everyone, it's JonnyVR here with another Doctor Who review. This is for Lucky Day, which is episode 4 of season 2. And as always, the first part will be spoiler free before I go into spoilers of the episode. So if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Come back to find out my thoughts and for discussion about stuff that's going on in the episode. So let's talk spoiler free about Lucky Day. Now, Lucky Day for me is a little bit one of a thinker. Like, it definitely is one that I think needs a rewatch. I didn't really know what to expect going into this episode, but I think that it is its own sort of self-contained story with impact, I think, potentially for the rest of the series. I think it's not the end of the story. I think there's definitely more that's going to happen here. It's really nice to see those characters that we are familiar with coming back, and all of them are on point. It's like their episode to shine again, as well as some complex new characters who I think are very interesting. They add a lot to the story, and they are likely to come back, and I think the performances they give are very good, and I think that they will be important to the story moving forward. I think it's kind of hard at the beginning to kind of place what this story is. It becomes much more clearer later on what this story is about, but I definitely feel like in this story there's like hints of what maybe will come in the future. Nice to have Unit back, which we knew from like the promotional material. This is an episode with like a lot of guest cast that we have seen before. They're back and they're dealing with an issue that is kind of interesting and new for Unit to deal with. Kind of a timely story as well. It's not the kind of story that I think would have been sort of thought of 15 years ago, but I think it's done very well, actually. There's a lot to think about in this episode. It's not like you can just, I think, take it as it is. I think there's kind of a few layers to the story which I kind of like. But overall, I think that this is its own. It tries to be its own sort of contained story, has layers to it that you can discuss in the spoiler section, and we'll probably discuss for many time afterwards. But it definitely, to me, seems like this is introducing aspects and characters that will be important for later on in this season. I think that, that's it. I think I was expecting this episode to have maybe more information on what was going on in the main story that we've sort of been shown so far this series, but it has like little hints of it, but I think overall it feels very disconnected from the previous 3 episodes, and that's clear in the way that they've filmed it and the way that the story is written. It is disconnected, but it really feels. I did think that it was going to be more connected to other aspects of the season arc than it was. So I'm very interested to see how this sort of ties in. So I can't go into it much more without going into spoiler territory. But I did enjoy this episode. Great to see some characters back. Interesting new other characters. And let's see how this ties into the rest of the season. So here's your spoiler warning. So basically, we meet the Doctor and Belinda Chandra, who are landing again once more with the Vindicator, this time in New Year's 2007. So they can travel to Earth before 2025. Yeah, after 2025 maybe, who knows. But they pick up their reading and they meet this little boy, Conrad, who the Doctor meets 2007, finds a 50p, gives to him, said this is his lucky day. This Conrad then runs back to his mum, who immediately gives him a whack over the head, and you're left to imagine kind of what growing up must have been like for this boy. Then after this opening titles, you have quite a lot going on. Actually, there's all these characters that we've sort of left behind up until this point. So you have him with his podcast with Ruby. It's Ruby's first episode in a while, and she's great. I kind of say this, but it's her episode, among others, and she's a really talented actor, and she really makes you feel and believe emotions that she's portraying, and her episode to step up into, and yet again she shows that she's a really good choice for a companion and for this show. So I was really impressed with her. Conrad as an adult is again very complex. He's kind of a up until a point more of a tougher nut to crack, He is very much shy, or he appears shy. He's kind of nervous, a little bit socially awkward, but he has a relationship with Ruby Sunday. Nice to see her family back into it. So again, it has her both her mum and her adopted mum, her grandma as well. They're kind of having life as normal. Once again, a mention of Ruby's father, who has this mysterious, nothing much besides the mention that she was in contact with her father, which we knew from the finale. Something is going to be important about her father. I can feel it. That's twice they've mentioned it. So let's see there. But for much of this episode, the first maybe third of the episode, it's kind of like modern life, like what happened to Ruby after the Doctor left. It's been a while since the unit have heard from the Doctor as well. So it's one of those episodes that it feels a little bit like a slow burn almost, but it's good to see what's going on in the background, after the Doctor leaves Ruby. I think it's good to see it builds up the world. So you have Conrad getting in touch with Ruby. Kind of had a bit of Love and Monsters vibe actually, when he's narrating and he's taking her photo and tries to find her, and she finds him through social media, the photo they post, and then they're talking about the Doctor and what's going on and stuff. It's just made me think of Love and Monsters and Linda and stuff, and they kind of snooping around, trying to find information about the Doctor and all that. You have all the way through as well, sort of in the beginning, the only time the Doctor appears in this episode's in the beginning half is when he's with Ruby shortly after the Beatles episode, chasing this creature called the Shriek, who sort of vomits on you and then marks you as to hunt. Then you have this kind of, it almost takes a background sort of look in the episode, it is the monster of the week, but it's it's kind of the background of this episode, because the Shriek gets its stuff on Ruby, but the Doctor gives her the antidote, gets also on Conrad, and Ruby has the antidote, and when she's with him, he gives her the antidote and says, take this, you'll be fine. Later on, it's revealed that he has not. There's so much in the later half of the episode to go through. But anyway, Ruby has Conrad as the new boyfriend, and you kind of see, like, you kind of thinking, oh, where is this heading? Then it basically comes to a point where Ruby and Conrad are going away for a weekend somewhere, like to meet his friends. There's a couple of them, and they're in the pub, like sort of having a drink and getting to know each other with his friends, and he's still playing this like socially awkward character up until like these multiple shrieks appear in the like outside the pub, starts causing some havoc, making people scared, and then unit gets called in. You've got Kate, you've got Shirley, you've got Colonel Ibrahim. Again, this hint that Ibrahim and Kate are having a relationship as well, and they come straight to the little village where they're where they all are, and they have like intervention, like they're looking like with guns, everything, and basically at this point in the episode, maybe about halfway through, the things change completely. It's found that the additional shriek creatures are actually Conrad's friends in costumes, and they're all live streaming unit arriving at the scene, and they are giving information that, like, is not entirely true. And they've got like tens of thousands of people watching them on social media and hearing what they're saying, like, unit is all a hoax, and like they're using the money for their own gain and stuff like that. And Conrad reveals that like this whole thing so far was an act. Like he had been manipulating Ruby for a long time, and I did feel like, okay, there was something about him that is you don't entirely trust, but it was a bit of a sharp turn. It's interesting for his character, but it was a sharp turn, like the fact that he was for many weeks in a relationship with Ruby, pretending to be this person that he was not, all to put up this this event to try and catch Unit out. And Unit arrested him. Of course, then he gets out within 24 hours, becomes like more on the news. People like want to hear what he has to say, that kind of thing. I think like this is the point where I got like really like you need to think about this, because like this whole like think tank thing, like this is what his group, his friends, his followers on social media, they believe him, like what he's saying. And throughout the whole like other half of the episode, when he's saying stuff that's generally not true or incorrect in what he says, or kind of he says things that are contradictory, and yet his tens of thousands of people on social media, it's like up to your interpretation that they just take what he says for granted. Like they take what he says and they believe it, and so like what he believes is that it's all a hoax, and then he gets other people to believe, and this is like a social media story that again wouldn't have happened 15 years ago. And I thought this is a very interesting, timely story. Maybe it presents a problem for Unit that they like is different from their usual thing. Like they can deal with alien invasions and things like that, but the public like viewpoint of them and it is something else. So I thought this was very interesting, and it continued to be like this up until a point where like Conrad has like somebody inside Unit to let him in, and at one point Conrad breaks into Unit like and takes a Unit weapon, and he's filming this whole thing, like he's live streaming this whole thing, and it just comes like almost borderline terrorism, and at this point like you're left to imagine that the people who are viewing this on social media, like they already made up their mind. They like there's this aspect of the episode that they're like, no matter what they say to try and get him to see like what really is true, no matter what they say, he's not going to believe it. and his followers are not going to believe it on social media. You know, it's like they've already made up their mind that what they think is happening is the truth. Like you're choosing your own truth, and I think that's quite a danger, and that's the danger that they present in the episode. It gets even to a point that okay, first of all, they even talk about Unit's hiring process, like the fact that Conrad was interviewed, but he was rejected for a job, which kind of is his grudge against Unit. Bit funny look into the way that Unit hire people, considering they look for, you know, people like Ruby and Rose Noble, who you know, who apparently kind of are involved with Unit at the moment. They can hire these people, and they don't hire these other people. So it brings into question like Unit's hiring policies, if they can hire somebody like Conrad's friend to who is kind of very radical into Unit to help him in. But you know, at this point he's like, he's got a gun, he's injured someone's been shot. You know, this is really like extreme like point to get to. It gets to then the point that the real Shriek, the one that they have hidden up, is released by Kate to attack Conrad, because he didn't take the antidote, which is, again, take what you will from this, like he, you know, take this, but he does not take it. It's kind of like anti-vaccination undertone in the story, because, like, again, he doesn't believe what is being told to him, and so he doesn't take. So then the Shriek comes after him, and only him, and I think that this is, again, one of the craziest parts of the story for me, because he's there, the Shriek is like at his face, like going to attack him, kill him, and they're just gonna, like, the thing is, Kate would, like, maybe she would not have let this happen, but like the Shriek is there about to kill him, and this is being live streamed, so like either he wins because he becomes a martyr and, like, you know, everyone turns on Unit for being like dangerous. As it happens, though, what happens is that he says, I lied, like he admits live that he lied. And I thought this was a really powerful moment, because, like, it shows that, like, these people, they, like, these kind of people, they have their viewpoints that they're very, very strongly holding on to, but if it comes to, like, your actual life in peril, do you stick with that belief if it means giving your life? And as it happens, he does not. He says, I lied about it all when it comes to his life. But when the Shriek gets neutralized or, like, tasered, he immediately goes back and he's like, nah, this is a fake, special effects have improved. So I feel like that's such a strong, like, that really hit me, that did. Then you have, like, I'll go very quickly now, because there's so much in this episode, there's so much in this, like, half of the episode that that to think about. But as it happens, he goes then into a prison. The Doctor appears, or does he? Conrad appears in the TARDIS as the TARDIS sort of materials around, and he gets a scalding from the Doctor, who, you know, and they basically have Conrad and the Doctor kind of head to head, arguing with their different viewpoints, like, and then even Conrad was like, was that, did I imagine that? I think he must have imagined that. But then Conrad knows about Belinda Chandra. Have you met Belinda Chandra yet? He said. How does he know that? That's very odd. That's definitely something that will be picked up later on in the season. Have you met Belinda Chandra yet? What does he know about this kind of, like, what does he know about time travel and future and stuff? Very interesting. And then lastly, the jailer turns out to be, of course, Mrs. Flood, who introduces herself as the governor. Now, again, this is going to be a clue. Is she Time Lady? Is she a Time Lord? I don't know. The governor, it sounds very much Time Lord. It did make me think of the spin-off Class, because at the end of that series, it never got renewed for a second series, but the governors were sort of looking behind behind the scenes of what was going on in that school. There was some sort of connection with Lupin, and it was never explained. So I'm wondering whether that's a way to sort of give a little bit of closure to that storyline if she is a governor, which I would look forward to hearing about, even if it's just a hint. So yeah, lots to digest from this episode. I think this whole social media aspect is a very interesting one, and lots to be thought about for the rest of the season. So overall, I really enjoyed this episode. Bit of a slow burn to begin with. Nice to see characters where they are now, without the Doctor. The overall story, I think, was a very interesting one that couldn't have been done before. It's a new idea. Done relatively well. Was a bit of a sharp turn in the middle, but the overall end of this episode, basically showing the effect of certain characters' actions, I thought was very interesting, very complex traits to portray and to write. So I did like that. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens in the rest of the series. What am I going to rate this? I'm going to give it an 8, because I did like it, and I hope that what it sets up here is paid off later on in the season in a satisfying way. So I'm going to give it an 8. Let me know what you think. Post comments down below. Let's have a discussion, and I will see you next week for the next episode. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.